EPAWA Weather Consulting, headquartered in Worth Whitehall, Pennsylvania. This is Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The thoughts and opinions expressed in this video are those of the forecaster alone and may not reflect those of the staff of EPAWA Weather Consulting LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Now, without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrich with Weather Weeklies.
Good morning and welcome to Weather Weeklies for Sunday, January 19th. This is another impromptu version of Weather Weeklies, not the same format that we normally do it, but we're doing it in the format of a daily forecast video here so I can show you some updated radar images and different things like that, and model images, because we have a storm coming in today, and in some places it has already begun, but we are going to have this overspreading the region today. I'm going to talk about that, and we're going to go into the long-range stuff, just like we normally do in a Weather Weeklies video. By the way, sorry not sorry, wearing an Eagles jersey today. It is a big day for us if you're not an Eagles fan. Don't care. All right, I'm wearing it through the video. A little semi-transparent here because, of course, it's a midnight green here, but you know, it's best I can do. So we're going to roll with it today. I got my Saquon jersey on. Hopefully we have a great day today. Here is the NAM. This is the latest one that ran this morning, and we can start using radar now because we can see where it is on radar, but the radars are, you know, at different spots. So we're just going to use this just to give you an illustration of what we expect this to do. It's going to overspread the entire region this morning. Southwest, northeast. Now, temperatures are not really super cold in a lot of places unless you get up north. If further south, it was kind of marginal, at least starting out. But once the snow starts falling, the temperatures drop, and you have evaporational cooling processes that will get the temperatures lowering as it's falling, and it will start sticking everywhere. Now, we're going to have an issue. It's going to be right along and southeast of I-95, and that's going to be initially, okay? I never had my pen up here, so I'm going to let that load. But right along the I-95 corridor, there is an area where it will start off as maybe some mixing with sleet. There could be some rain initially, even further southeast as you get closer to the shore points, or a rain-snow mix, something like that. Not really shown too well here on the NAM, but this is the one that ran this morning, and it does show some heavier snow across the areas that we have listed as our jackpot areas, so to speak. Now, we did lower the map a little bit this morning, very slightly. It was only taking an inch off the top and low end for some places, but it's still, instead of 6 to 9, it's now 5 to 8. Whoop-de-doo. It's not a big deal. It's still, the messaging's still the same. Nothing's really changed overall, and this is going to end during the course of the early evening in our southwestern areas and late evening in our far northeastern areas, and that will move away. But you do see some darker blues in here during the afternoon, most notably, and right in the middle of the Eagles game this afternoon. So that should be a fun time watching that. Again, there could be some sleet mixing in initially. The HRR is indicating that right up to I-95, you have this pinkish color here is actually sleet. Okay, it's not freezing rain, it's sleet, but you see there's rain further southeast, but that changes over to snow as this with time, and that goes all the way to the coast where it's going to change over to snow. And you might have a heavy burst here at the end that's going to get you a couple hours of some heavier snow before it ends, after it changes over. And again, same timing here, ends during the course of the evening this evening. So this is what we have for our snow map for today. And again, it's the same outline as yesterday. That hasn't changed. The axis hasn't changed. We're just looking at this area in C being 5 to 8 instead of 6 to 9 locally higher possible. We took the locally higher mentions out, and it just says 5 to 8 across this entire area. So if you were somewhere like New York City, I was getting this yesterday, if you're like, we're not getting 9 inches in New York City, which this is not suggesting you're getting 9 in New York City, or yesterday when it was 6 to 9, people were saying we're not going to get 9 in Philadelphia. Well, we don't have 9. If it's on the edge right here, if you're in an area that's an edge of this, of the 3 to 5, which is south of here, and the 5 to 8 now, which is we would have moved it to 3 to 5 and 5 to 8, then you can expect about 5. This isn't that hard or difficult, but when dealing with social media, it's amazing some people can tie their shoes. But this is the same thing up in these areas up here. This is the difference between 3 and 5 to the northwest of that, and 5 to 8 southeast. So if you're on the line here, somewhere like Hazleton, you know, that's right on the line there. You're probably getting about 5 out of this, maybe slightly more than that, but I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to depict here. So if you're in the middle of this, you're between 5 and 8, and the B and D are both 3 to 5, but there are different ways of getting there. This is just a lighter, fluffy snow. All snow. This is a mix. Some sleet initially going over to snow. 1 to 3 in our E range, and this is still a coating to edge down here. Far northwestern areas are 1 to 3 inches of fluffy snow. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, that's our snow map for today. I don't want to spend an enormous amount of time on this, but I mean, the European model that ran this morning, it has this swath in that same area we have, and a lot of 6, 6.3, 6.5, 7.1, 7.4. That's with between 5 and 8. But you no longer see any numbers here that are looking at upwards of 9 potential. So we had to lower it. Okay, so we kept the upside to 8, but even there, I mean, there's a place up here in Sussex County that gets close to that on the European model. So I mean, that's going to be more isolated than anything else. I think it's 5 to 8 through our swath there. And that's what we're dealing with. Now, I want to get past this storm because the Weather Weeklies is generally, geared toward the long range. So we're going to look at, the next thing I'm going to look at is our year-to-date snowfall, which is where we're at. So this is year-to-date snowfall. Thus far, we are below average except by the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area because, again, they had that one snow event that was in the beginning, late, I think it was the week before Thanksgiving, and it was something like 12 and a half inches or something like that hit up there. So that was really a big early season storm that really nobody else got. It was an elevation dependent storm. But because of that, and since this is measured at the WNEP backyard, and it's a little higher elevation, 20.8 inches is the official observation for Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. The rest of us are lower, but a lot of these places are going to go over today. Like Allentown is 7.7, Normal is 10.6. After this storm, you should be over this 10.6 for year to date. Harrisburg, you're going to be right around that or maybe a little higher than that. Newark, same deal. So some of these places will go over. The question here is going to be Philadelphia. You're almost 3 inches there. You should be a little over 7. We have 3 to 5 there, so it's going to be close. You're going to get back close to average here. So this is what one storm can do. You have just one storm that gives you snowfall like this, and you could be behind, and all of a sudden you make up for deficits real quick. So I think that's where we're going to be headed. And as far as what normal January snowfall looks like, this is what we should have. We do have a slightly above average projection. Again, we can still get to these numbers in some places to get slightly above. All right. In one storm we'll do that. We do have another opportunity here, I think, toward the end of the month, but we'll see. We'll see if we get to that. We might end up just close to average, and that's it. But we'll certainly take what we can get. If you're a snow lover, right? We'll take what we get, and this is a decent-sized storm. A lot of people were asking, why aren't you going into Godzilla storm mode? I mean, did you have regular storm mode up there? We don't do that unless it's a big, gigantic storm, 12 inches or greater over a very large area, and this is certainly not cutting it. And we knew that from the onset. That's why we never went into that mode, so to speak. But could we get one of those this year? Yeah, possibly. I think if it happens, it's probably February, but there's no way of telling that right now. So we're going to go into the longer range stuff now. Here's our storm on that's coming through today. Once that exits, there's another one that goes across the far deep south, and I'm talking about you're going to get several inches of snow in New Orleans. It's that far south because we have such a strong cold air push coming in here in the Monday through Thursday timeframe this week, especially Tuesday, Wednesday, with highs in the teens. You see above me, I have the temperatures listed for tomorrow already. 18 to 24. That's just a start of it. When you go into Tuesday, Wednesday, your highs are going to be in the low to mid-teens, single digits below zero in a lot of places in the interior. So it's going to push all this south, and this is that second system that just kind of skirts off the coast here on the GFS. It doesn't really do much and stays far enough to the south, but you're going to have places like Tallahassee and Mobile, Alabama. Places you wouldn't think of normally getting snow. They're going to get a bunch of snow out of this, going all the way over to the Carolina coastline. If you look at the ensembles, they are pretty far south over this as well. The European ensemble, though, is a little bit further north, and there's been some indication that maybe we might get grazed here in our far southeastern areas, coastal New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. We'll have to keep an eye on that just in case. There are a few ensemble members that are bringing it a little close, and the European Operational does that as well. So we'll keep an eye on it in the regular daily forecast videos this week. But I think this largely stays south here on in the Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe, and the GFS is indicating that this morning. We are going to watch another system here around the 24th, 25th. Most models have that further southeast now because, again, that cold air is so overbearing that it just pushes everything further southeast, and that's going to remain in place through Thursday. This is Thursday night, showing another coastal graze here on the GFS, but not many other models show that. We'll continue to watch that as well. I think it's really when you get toward the end of the month here, we have some overrunning opportunities, overrunning precipitation where you have a gradient boundary. Now, don't pay attention where this is exactly. Just showing you there's a gradient here. And north of that, you get some wintry mix and snow. And south of there, you get rain. Or along and south of it, you get rain. So where that boundary sets up is going to depend on how much cold air is available that time. This would be something that would be for next weekend, possibly. And there's a couple overrunning opportunities here. There's one here and there's one there. It's not showing much now, but don't worry about that. These are models at long range, and they've shown bigger things at times too. Every 6 hours it changes. The fact is that there is a signal there we're going to watch for that period, and the European ensemble, or excuse me, the GFS ensemble, if I can watch that period toward the end of the month. Here you go. There's it shows the ensembles anyway are focused on that period here, and that 28th, 29th time frame. That's the second of our 2 winter storm signals in the long range outlook, in addition to this system today. So we're going to watch that period at the end of the month. But what about beyond that? There's always been questions about how February is going to play out, and it looks like, it appears at first look here anyway, let me get over to it, the GFS extended may be caving to the European guidance, okay? Caving to what? Well, this is what the Matt and Julian oscillation projections are this morning. And this is what dictates this is tropical forcing. So whatever phase this is in will promote how the jet streams react to it, okay? The jet stream is going to react to it, and whether we get colder air troughs or we are in ridging and warmth, okay? That's really what we're looking for. And in this case, this goes through phase 3, which is a colder phase in February, because with the delay, this would set up February, but it now goes into the circle of death, the same as the European extended. But they're both doing that now. The European extended was always doing this. Back and forth, this goes here on the GFS extended, which is what this one here on the left is, and this has been taking it through phase 4, phase 5, phase 6. Well, those are mild phases. So for the longest time, the GFS extended was suggesting, and so was the CFS, that it was going to be a little torchy in February, meaning we're not going to have any chances of snow. But now, if it's collapsing into the circle of death as shown here, you can remain colder than average. You can. It's a very fine line though, and the GFS this morning is now suggesting that we are going to remain in the colder phases a little bit longer. So we now see changes on the GFS extended. Here's through the end of the month. We get into February. It's still now it has slightly below average temperatures in the first week of February. It does during the second week of February bring it near to slightly above, not by much, but then it goes right back down to cold again as we get beyond, get into week 3 and beyond of February. So it has changed. This was a torchy pattern. If I go back a couple runs ago, where was it? Where was I last look at it? I have to look. See, look how torchy it was. Look at that. So it's changing. Does it change? It doesn't mean it's going to be exactly this way. No, not exactly. But the most consistent thing has been the European extended, or the weeklies, as some people still call them. This is through the end of January. We're colder than average, and then look, here's February, cold. It's not brutally cold, but it's still slightly below average in February, and that goes all the way into early March to the end of the run on the Euro extended. So we'll see. I don't think. This is one of those things that in February that we never knew which way it could go either way. It was either going to stay colder than average or it was going to warm up. And the latest run of the GFS, of course, is not looking like this. Instead, it's looking like this, right? So it's turning cooler. It's starting to adjust to that. If this stays on that course and we don't go into the maritime continent forcing, which again is if you go into the maritime continent out here in phases 4 and 5, that's a little torchy. It's a little warm, okay? And that's not something you want to see in winter if you're a snow lover. But if it goes from phase 3 into the circle of death, those effects of phase 3, which is a colder phase, can linger longer, okay? One thing I do agree on is that we are relatively dry through the end of the month, other than that, that storm we have today, and then there might be something around the 28th or so. After that, we get into February, and they both agree that we're going to turn on the precipitation part of it. So it's going to go to slightly above average temperatures, or excuse me, precipitation, which I don't care what form it falls in, we need some kind of rainfall heading into spring here of some kind of moisture. So if this falls in the form of rain, that's fine too. But for you snow lovers, if it's going to remain slightly below average and you're getting this kind of precipitation look with slightly above average precipitation for the entire month of February, that could mean a lot more in the way of snow. Here's what the European extended does. That was the GFS I just showed you, GFS extended. This is the European extended. Well, Same general idea, where it turns wetter here in February, and the entire month going into early March is wetter than average. So it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. If you have slightly below average temperatures to coincide with this, you get more snow events. And if it's warmer, you'll have more rain. But either way, this will be beneficial as far as much needed rainfall, if nothing else. So there's the month as a whole, slightly above average precipitation is shown across the board. This is a 30-day composite. So that is our long range in a nutshell. I wanted to keep it kind of brief because we got a lot of things to do. Today's before I get ready for the Eagles today. Some of you are watching the Buffalo game at noon. I'll be trying to watch that while working at the same time, but I have a lot of things to do this morning with our private clients, but I did want to get the Weather Weekly's update out to you today in this format just so you can see what's going on. Again, this is going to be overspreading the area this morning, and then this is going to end during the course of the evening from southwest to northeast as it pulls away. Early evening, southwest areas, northeast areas will be late evening, and we're looking at this, which is on our social media. Probably have already seen it when we did the update this morning. Just lowered the top end slightly, but overall the messaging is still the same. I'm meteorologist Bobby Marchus out of this edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, January 19th. Join us again next week, and we'll have a better look at February and what we're dealing with going forward from there. So I will see you at that time. Take care.